cast your mind back to the British Grand Prix in 1960. Now, you're probably thinking, Jordan, why? Why that particular Grand Prix? Well, actually, that was the last time Aston Martin raced in Formula 1. Now, this week, we've actually got some news, guys. Mini fist bump. The Aston Martin are going to be coming back officially into Formula 1, replacing the Racing Point team. Of course, the consortium led by Lawrence Stroll. He's going to be bringing the name back to the team for 2021, if we ever get a season, that is. And of course, we know that the rules have been pushed back or anything till 2022, apparently 2023 and everything. So there's been a bit of uncertainty. Is this deal going to happen? Is that deal going to happen? And one of them that was brought up was the Aston Martin deal. Are they still going to come into Formula 1? Turns out they actually are. Not as Aston Martin Racing Point, not as Aston Martin Force India, not as Aston Martin Spiker or whatever you want to call them. It's going to be purely Aston Martin F1 team. 6 syllables for that matter. And hopefully, I think that pretty much confirms another thing that everyone's been asking. That the Racing Green will be making a return to Formula 1. I mean, that is one of my favourite ever colours, is pure Racing Green. It belongs in Formula 1. I think Aston Martin raced with that colour back in the 60s and 50s, so hopefully, I'd imagine now it'll be bringing the colour back to Formula 1. So Lyle, Aston Martin will be coming back as a full manufacturing team, a works team. Good news, bad news. I mean, tell me and the fans what you think about that. Happy, sad, or whatever.
Well, I'll tell you firstly, Jordan, I actually have a Racing Green top, which I didn't wear for this episode, so I kind of, pooped the bed on that one. But no, anyways, I think it's amazing. I mean, of course, it's so good. We've got a brand new team coming into Formula. Well, yeah, almost brand newish, of course. Same guys. But it's different to, of course, when Racing Point took over Force India. You know, it's not just a name change, and of course, it's not an administration change. So, you know, it's a good, obviously, Racing Point being a good team, that the pink pants, whatever you want to call them, that's had a good pedigree, but of course now we're going to move on. I mean, of course, as you say there, Jordan, Racing Green is making a return to Formula 1. In terms of Aston Martin, the race team, of course, it's just great to have them in. I know we've done countless episodes about, Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, Koenigsegg, all them teams possibly coming in. Now we've got Aston Martin, an established race car name, a breed, a heritage. It is going to be absolutely amazing. I mean, to say that, so obviously, you've got Red Bull Racing, an energy drink company. To say that you're a fan of Red Bull is okay, that's good, especially to people in the know. And obviously, I know this as well when I'm getting onto. When you say to some other people, I don't really like Formula 1 and don't follow it or don't know anything, but like Jordan, no, I'm just showing. When you say to them, you follow Red Bull Racing, they're like, well, the energy drink. And you're like, no, this. But of course, if you say to them, you follow Ferrari, they know that Ferrari's a breed. It's it is an Italian breed. It's the part of their culture. Aston Martin is exactly the same. If you say to someone, I not race for Aston Martin, I support Aston Martin, they will instinctively know, even if they're not Formula 1 fan, they will know first time what you're talking about. And of course, mainly why it's famous is, of course, the James Bond movies, 007, British, one of the most British things you're ever going to see. That's amazing. Love that. I mean, Jordan, there's been a lot of ties to James Bond in Formula 1. Of course, you had the British Grand Prix, you had Pierre Gasly and Max Verstappen. I think it was 0010 and 0033, 00 not 10 anymore. That was there. Aston Martin, what's their new car, that hypercar that they had, the Vanquish or something, I've forgotten it now, the Spartan, something like that.
I don't know what
they had they had a hypercar. But anyway, it's just great to see them in. It really, really is, of course. And to top that off, of course, Red Bull Racing, no more Aston Martin. At least it's staying in Formula 1, of course. I think when Aston Martin came into Red Bull, we were expecting an engine change. They were leaving Renault, but to go to where else? And the answer was, I tell you what, we've got Adrian Newey, who's great at building cars and engines. We've got the supply, of course, we've got Aston Martin on board. Let's build an Aston Martin engine. That didn't work out, of course, or they didn't really pursue that. It was just a title sponsor. Now they're leaving and taking more of a prevalent role in Formula 1. I think it's amazing to have Aston Martin as a name is really good, Jordan. And I'm really happy about that, of course. I mean, of course, for Lawrence Stroll to, buy this again and have another, import into Formula 1 just shows, the amount of support he has in Formula 1. Lance Stroll, of course, we've talked about him for a very long time. Where's he going to go? Is he going to stay at the team? Now they might be looking at a much bigger team than Racing Point. Racing Point is a normal name, normal team. You could call them Canadian, you could call them British, whatever. Now it's Aston Martin. It's a big team, and if they can get a good engine deal on board, of course, using Mercedes at the moment, if they can get a good engine deal on, and possibly in the future even get Aston Martin engines on board, they could turn into a really, really big team. So, Jordan, going back to you, is this the start of a big team in Formula One, almost like when Mercedes came back in? It started off as Brawn, it then built up. Actually, you could say that because, of course, like Force India, Racing Point, maybe the Brawn types. I mean, of course, Brawn, I know, won the Constructors' Championship and then left. But it transformed into Mercedes, into a big pedigree name. Is this a little bit like that? Racing Point turned into Aston Martin, changing the colour, changing the dynamics. Are they as the start of a good team in Formula One? And let's say in like 10 years' time, we could be seeing Aston Martin like winning constructors and becoming a big pedigree name, like like they should be, like in the Bond movies, and obviously like they have been in other types of motorsports. So, is this the start of a big team in Formula One, or is it just another sponsor? Is it just another name, or is it, as I say, like kind of the start of Mercedes and a big team in F1 for the future?
I think it's got a very good future. I think Aston Martin at the moment, from what they're saying, the foundation. Like Lawrence Stroll is a very wealthy man. He's a successful businessman as well. So all these little things, and how he's almost transformed Force India and Racing Point from the point of bankruptcy to the point of where we were going to lose a team, to now we've got one of the biggest names in car manufacturing in Formula One, which is hard to get at the moment, especially when you've got other sports like Formula E who seem to be attracting the big car names like Audi and Porsche and BMW. So that is a win in itself. So I think for me that is a good foundation for that. Obviously we'll have to see who we get on board for the future. And in a way, I think next season, because of what is going on at the moment, it's like, well, as I said at the start, and as you probably know by now, the 2021 regulations have been pushed back a year, but now there is talks that they're going to be pushed back till 2023. So of course Aston Martin we're going to be coming in Formula One with the intention of building a totally brand new car from scratch. But by the looks of it, it could be the Mercedes W10 or W11 or W5 or whatever. Who knows? So unless they just start from scratch and just build it themselves. After all, there are a works team, so build it themselves. But I don't know. They might just quickly get up an old Mercedes or whatever, because they will be using Mercedes engines. That's what they use in their road cars. That's what they use in the WEC, Mercedes engines. So I'm more than likely that they'll be doing a partnership deal with Mercedes. And of course, Racing Point do use Mercedes engines, and they even use the cars for that matter. I think it would be a nice place to put like the Mercedes young drivers perhaps one day into the fold. Perhaps, I mean, Lance Stroll for me will be there till God knows when. It's still in my opinion, unless he does absolutely awful. Sergio Perez has said that if results don't come his way in the next couple of years, then he is off. He's gone. So I'm hoping that Aston Martin can get the ball rolling. Hopefully, maybe not in its first year, but maybe second, third, get that snowball effect on the move, and hopefully see where they are in the next couple of years. But I think their future, I think this plan, this project, I believe it'll be at least a 5-year plan, because we have seen, for example, Jaguar come into Formula One, and I mean, I don't know if they were tipped for big things, but I'd imagine that when they said, okay, Jaguar, I don't know who they bought. Was it Minardi that they bought? I think it might have been Minardi. I don't know. But they bought a team, and, Racing Green came into Formula One again. Really nice livery. Mark Webber, of course, drove for the team. And it didn't work. It completely failed. And maybe there was some hype leading up to that. Maybe they thought, okay, Jaguar were going to be the team at the front, challenging the Ferraris and the Renaults and the McLarens at the time. So maybe we're having that same kind of hype where maybe Aston Martin will come into Formula One and just back markers and another failed project in Formula One. I'm more confident with this one because it's organised. To be fair, they are taking over a team, so they've got the factory ready, they've got the staff ready, they've got drivers ready. So everything's there. The foundations are there, and there is talk of building a brand new factory. So it's all there ready to go and build a successful Formula One team. And I can see Aston Martin at the front of the grid in like the next 3 to 4 years if development keeps keeps up, and if an investment keeps coming in and all that, and who knows, maybe sign a really key driver in the future, maybe lure Max Verstappen from there, maybe lure Charles Leclerc from there. I mean, sounds ridiculous, but I never thought Vettel or Hamilton would have left their represented teams in 2012, 2014, when Vettel left Red Bull and Lewis left McLaren. So who knows? Who knows what the future holds? If the money's right, let's see where it takes them. So I think Aston Martin could be probably the next Mercedes, where we are like, exciting that a new car manufacturer is in Formula One, yeah, hype, and then they go and dominate the sport for the next couple of years. But no, I'm quite confident with I think Aston Martin have got a really, really, really good future ahead of them. That's only if Lawrence employs the right people. And speaking of employees, I'm just going to just staying on the same subject, but kind of moving on to something that's, again, been circulating the Formula One paddock, Twitter, online kind of thing, is the news that Toto Wolff could be leaving his role as Mercedes team principal and joining Lawrence Stroll as a shareholder in Aston Martin. Now, we are not strangers to these kind of headlines, not just with Toto Wolff, but with Christian Horner. I remember those rumours when Red Bull were dominating. Christian Horner was going to be the next boss at Formula One. When Bernie Ecclestone decides to sell up, he's going to give it to Christian Horner. It's about 5 years later, and Christian Horner is still at Red Bull, still in P3.
I remember, wasn't there a story, I think it was last year when I was at the Spanish Grand Prix, didn't you do a story, Jordan, where you said that Chase Carey or someone had tipped Toto Wolff to be the boss of Formula One? And I mean, as I say, there's all this news, and Jordan's the next boss of Formula One. That's the new story. The F1 debate show is the new boss of Formula One. I'll tell you what, we can take them places. We can take F1 places. They're going to have a race around St James's Park. That's what they're going to do.
Around Leisure Park on the back of St James's. That'll be an awesome Grand Prix. Just let's get that on. Let's email FOM now, FIA, Chase Carey. If you're watching this, 1, subscribe. 2, give us a quick message on it on Twitter. You can follow us at F1_DS16, and we'll happily follow you.
We know you've got nothing else to do right now.
Exactly. That would be quite cool though. A race around St James's Park. Anyways, getting back onto the topic. So yeah, like you said there, Lyle. We have kind of spoken about team bosses going into bigger roles, and of course, Toto Wolff was another one that was going to be taken over from Chase Carey. He's only been in for like 2 minutes really, compared to Bernie, and was looking to be taken over as Formula One CEO or a reserve role or whatever it was at the time. So yeah, these kind of rumours have resurfaced again by the man who used to run Formula One, Bernie Ecclestone. Now Bernie, where do we stand with Bernie? We know what he's like when it comes to these kind of things, where it's like, I'm going to introduce sprinklers into Formula One, or I'm going to. There was another silly rule that he had. Off the top of my head, I can't remember it. But you'll know what I'm talking about. He's got loads of these weird
some
kind
of
of
work,
things.
like the double points. I know it. I think wasn't that qualifying? Qualifying in Melbourne 16. Was that Bernie? Did Bernie decide on that? The elimination qualifying was that a Bernie?
I don't know if that was his idea. It was someone's idea, but it would have went through like FIA approval. And
I was going to say Bernie will have had, even if it wasn't his idea, he would have had to have ticked it off. So that's a bad idea, and that's what we're talking about.
2016 qualifying. Oh my god. Shudders. Anyway, so yeah, it's like I said, we aren't strangers to these kind of things. Bernie Ecclestone has said that Toto Wolff is going to be going to Aston Martin. Lyle, where do you stand on those rumours? Do you think Toto Wolff will? Maybe as a shareholder or even team principal or whatever, I'm not too sure. I think it's more likely he'll be shareholder. So what do you think he will do? Do you think he'll stay at Mercedes, or do you think he'll go off and do a new challenge alongside Lawrence Stroll and maybe take Aston Martin from, nothing at the moment to great success?
Well, the problem is with Toto Wolff, he's not just a team principal at Mercedes. He is a CEO, the acting CEO of Mercedes-AMG Petronas Motorsport in Formula One. That is the pinnacle at the moment. I mean, he has run that team so well, like in the past few years, of course, And of course, we all remember Ross Brawn. Ross Brawn, to me, is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, and even probably bigger than Ron Dennis, just because he's more prevalent now. But, what he did, especially with, Ferrari, not just Brawn, but with Ferrari, is remembered. And, of course, that's why he is so high right now in the FOM and working with Liberty Media. Toto Wolff has that established. He is like one of the gods of Formula 1 for sure. He runs that team. He will be on an absolute fortune. He has one of the best drivers of all time, one of a very good driver of all time, two of the best drivers on the grid. And he has the best car, which...
I'd imagine that one of the best drivers of all time, of course, is Valtteri Bottas.
Oh, of course. One of the best drivers on the grid is Lewis Hamilton. The best of all time, the GOAT, is Valtteri Bottas. So... And he's got a car that is going to win the World Championship in many... He is so happy where he is right now. The thing, of course, what we're talking about right now is not going to Racing Point or going to... So Racing Point, when they go to Aston Martin, he's not going there, right there, done and dusted. He's not going there with Checo and with Lance. And everything sorted as it is right now. Otmar Safnauer, he's not going there... with everything, just a done deal. And he's going to plod along as the team principal. And most likely, like, maybe the CEO. I don't know, obviously, it's someone else owns Mercedes, of course, but the acting CEO is Toto Wolff. So Lawrence Stroll might own the team. Obviously, it is a Canadian consortium, as Jordan said. That is a mouthful to say, Canadian consortium. Wow, if you see that loads, Canadian consortium. So... Toto Wolff, of course, is the acting CEO. He will go to the team with the sole purpose to change the team, renovate the team, change it in his direction. Now, of course, when he was employed, I think it was 2012, his views were, I want this, I want that. And to be honest, he did quite well. A lot of the things fell into place. Of course, it did help him because 2 years later he had the change. He brought on board Niki Lauda, which was most likely the best decision he ever made. Of course, Niki brought Lewis. And then, of course, Lewis, kind of his rival with Nico, and everything just fell into place. So he went there to change the team, and he did that. I would say it's very, very well. And obviously, we've seen people like Eric Boullier, Paddy Lowe, Andreas Stella, from Ferrari, going to change the teams to help them. So that's what he is there, just to change the team as much as he can. You said there, Jordan, of course, moving there for the start of 2021. The regulations were originally going to be in 2021. That would have been massive, not just for Aston Martin, but for Toto Wolff. And that would, if you said to me right now, okay, that's the main change. Of course, we're not changing. It's still going to be 1.6 litre V6 hybrid turbos. But obviously, there's a lot of things changing, including the aerodynamics of the car, the budget, the spending cost. One of the biggest changes we'll have seen since, of course, the V6s replaced the V8 back in 2014. That's when Toto Wolff would have probably left, and he would have said, that's my new challenge. I'm 6-time world champion, constructor obviously, and world champion, I guess, as well. He can probably claim that. I've done so much, and of course, I've left a massive legacy, very much like Ross Brawn did, of course, in Mercedes, because he was the team principal at Mercedes for 3 years before obviously said man took over. So he will be very, very happy about what's happened, and he will then go to Aston Martin with the new regulation change and think, right, we're all starting. I might be on zero, but everyone else is going to be on zero. It's a fresh slate. We can do what we want. And of course, him being established, he will turn around to whoever's in charge, Otmar Safnauer or whoever, and say, right, you brought me on board. This is my view, and he will have a massive input. The thing is, of course, as Jordan just said there, the regulations are changing. It's not going to be 2021 anymore. So most likely, it's going to be an engine. It's going to be a Mercedes engine in that Racing Point. Of course, Racing Point changing to Aston Martin. Nothing will change. Drivers, Sergio and Lance, they'll just trade their pink overalls for green overalls. The car will change from pink to green, and nothing really will change. Maybe a little bit more money, but not much apart from that. And that's where I think Toto Wolff would say, at the moment, no. I think the massive thing for me, especially as he said it there, is the regulation change. Once the regulation changes come into effect, that's when he will leave. There's a chance he would leave right there. He would go to Aston Martin and he would change them for the better. But at the moment, no. And especially not when Mercedes are winning like they are right now. I mean, not obviously right now, but like last year and obviously what they intended to do this season. That's the reason why I think he would stay put at the moment. Of course, in the future, Jordan, there is definitely that possibility. I mean, of course, we have seen people. James Allison, again, very big name. He went to Ferrari, I think it was, to change. Of course, he changed quite a lot behind the scenes as well in terms of aerodynamics and things like that. Obviously, Ferrari kind of... I mean, they're still not obviously to what they were a few, back in the day. But he did change stuff from kind of like the later Fernando / Felipe days into obviously what it is now, Seb and Charles. So he has changed a lot. I would say Toto Wolff could change his team, but the main thing is, it's just I couldn't see him leaving Mercedes right now. Because Jordan, if somebody said to you right now, like, you've got an involvement with Mercedes, right? I don't know what you're doing, right? You're making the cups of tea. You're making a cup of tea for the bosses, right? So you could either make a cup of tea, do the rounds of cup of teas for Williams, their factory in Oxfordshire, or actually on the road, I guess, in their paddock, just average middle of the road kind of thing. You're meeting George and Nicholas, meeting Claire Williams and all that. Just middle of the road, bog standard Williams kind of stuff. Or you could be making teas for Mercedes. A lot more money. Of course, you probably have a bigger salary. You'd be making cup of teas for Toto Wolff, Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, and in a very much probably renovated and better motorhome and paddock. So what would you do? Where would you be making the tea? Actually, instead of Williams, I should have said Racing Point, but you get what I mean though. Like, would you leave William at Mercedes to go somewhere else as a risk? I mean, of course, I know that we look at like people like Lewis Hamilton where it did pay off. I know these are drivers, but it's very much the same as it's a risk. We look at people like Lewis Hamilton, of course, who did leave McLaren to go to Mercedes. Looked like a bad move, but it wasn't. But of course, on the flip side, though, we have seen some massive changes. People have left teams, for example, Sebastian, I guess you could say Sebastian Vettel, but mainly Daniel Ricciardo, of course, leaving Red Bull Racing for Renault. So would you leave Mercedes, Jordan? If you were Toto Wolff right now, would you leave Mercedes, in your active CEO role and team principal, to go and take a risk? I mean, of course, he has got massive, he's done a lot of things behind the scenes. He has massive support. He has done a lot. He's changed that team for the better. But would you do that, though? Especially when you think you probably could have a few more goals at winning the Constructors and, just driving the team forward. Especially now that Lewis is, on board to becoming one of the best, if not the best in Formula 1. And, of course, when he does leave, helping the team keep, going, as obviously when they had Lewis on. So, I mean, what would you do? Would you stay at Mercedes, or would you go to the new Aston Martin from Racing Point?
Well, I think first of all, if there was ever a job where you just have to make cups of teas for Formula 1 teams, where do I sign up? Where do I sign up? That sounds like an awesome job. That sounds like no. I think because obviously I've never been in the mindset of a team principal, a multi-winning team principal of a Formula 1 team, and I never will be. So I don't know if that momentum is still with Toto Wolff, where he wants to continue the success and bring as much championships as he can to Mercedes as long as they're in Formula 1. Or he might be in the mindset of, you know what, I think I'm in for a new challenge. I just want to do something totally different. Just see what else I can do. Where next? Because I think in a sport like Formula 1, it can become a bit repetitive. So, for example, like, you win championship, you sign for a team, and then you score your first points, then you get your first podium, then you get your first win, then you do well for a championship, then you win a championship, then you win again and again and again with that same team. Eventually, you're going to go, what next? What else can I do? A bit like what Vettel did. Vettel left Red Bull to go to Ferrari. It was a new challenge. Nobody thought he would ever do that, but he did. And, prime example, Lewis Hamilton. Stuck in that rut of McLaren, he took a massive gamble. I mean, Hamilton's scenario was a lot different, but still, McLaren was still ahead of Mercedes in 2012. He went to Mercedes, and the move looked like it had to pay it off in 2013, before the success of the V6s and the constructors of the championships and anything like that. So it certainly was a gamble for Lewis, and I think it will be a bit of a gamble for Toto, because like we have seen big name managers go off to the teams that hasn't really paid off. For example, Ross Brawn went to Ferrari to BAR Honda, or Honda, whatever they were called, and then the team went down. He of course bought the team out, rebranded it as Brawn. Fairy tale story, and there you go. And then he was manager of Mercedes till like 2013, I think it was. I think I would like to see Toto Wolff go to Aston Martin. Now, for two reasons. One, to see how he would fare at Aston Martin, to see how far he can actually get them, help them, and go, right, okay, you did well at Mercedes. What can you do that elsewhere? I'm pretty sure he can. He's a clever bloke, is Toto Wolff. But it's also to see who would take over at Mercedes, and where would they go from there. who would be in charge, and would the success be continuing at Mercedes? So that's kind of my two things. But in terms of overall, it's very hard to kind of say because, like I said, I've never been in that mindset. So I'm going to have a punt and say he will. I think he will. It's like a complete and utter blatant guess. But let's spice things up a little bit. And I'm going to say I think he will. Brand new challenge, brand new team. Well, I say new team, like new name coming in. He's worked with Mercedes. Well, kind of Mercedes, Aston Martin. They've got like some sort of deal there somewhere. Because, like I said, Aston Martin used Mercedes engines, so it's almost like he is kind of leaving, but not in that kind of sense. In the same way that Lewis left McLaren for Mercedes, he's left, but not necessarily. He's still part of Mercedes because Mercedes were McLaren for many years until Mercedes became their own independent team. So he was kind of still part of the Mercedes family. So Toto Wolff is kind of part of that Mercedes family. So yeah. Anyways, so yeah, I think you will. I think you will. Brand new challenge, and just see what the future holds for him. So yeah. So no, I think I'm looking forward to see what the future holds. Of course, it is a bit uncertain with what is going on at the moment, whether Aston Martin will come in and get the ball rolling straight away. Because like I said, the plan was to put in a plan in place to build the brand new 2021 car. I don't know if they'll use the Racing Point car that they've currently got now, or use the old Mercedes car from this year. Should the season go ahead at some point? It's uncertain times at the moment, but at least we know that. Well, first of all, we're getting a season in 21, so that's good. And secondly of all, that we're going to be getting a new car manufacturer. So let's take the kind of sign off with Lyle. Let's have a big bold prediction. It's way off because we haven't seen anything from Aston Martin yet, but let's have a bit of fun for now, and let's pinpoint this episode and look back maybe in like 5 years, let's say about 5 years time, call it like a mini time capsule type of thing, obviously not as long. So let's have a prediction and see where we think Aston Martin will end up in 5 years time. So are you talking, okay, are they still in Formula 1? Are they a mediocre midfield team, or have they already won their first constructors championship and have already won their drivers championship? Or what do you think? What's your bold prediction?
See, I'm really excited about having Aston Martin in. Like, we're back to proper old names in Formula 1 and motorsport. I really want it to do well. I really, really do. Obviously, it depends on the drivers. It does, of course. It depends on what power they can get to. Of course, in terms of using Mercedes power, how that play along. Of course, Honda, they're still kicking about a little bit. Of course, now Mercedes are going to be going to McLaren. Actually, just one. I mean, I know we're not talking about this in this episode, but again, that's planned for next year. So again, what's going to happen with that deal? And obviously, how will that affect Aston Martin? Because of course, that will be just another team that they're powering. So my bold predictions is, I want to say that they've won the World Championship, Jordan. I'm going to say so. Right. So are we going to start the 5 years in 21? Right. So let's do 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. That was easy. So 2025. I want to keep it similar as well. I want to say that Lance and Sergio are still driving for the team, because I do think that they are still good drivers. Sergio, very strong. Lance, I mean, he must have the car. Honestly, I think the main thing I've wanted to see for a very long time is Lance Stroll in a position where he's beaten Sergio, or in a position where he kind of has or hasn't got the car, and to see what his performance is, because of course a lot of people are still backing him as the money driver. So if they retain their two drivers, I'm still going to say that they're going to have a good finish, and I'm going to say, Jordan, that they're going to finish third. They're going to finish third in the 2024 standings, and then in 2025 they're going to finish second in the standings. The reason I'm saying second is because when Mercedes, or if Mercedes, doesn't matter, I didn't mean to say when, as in I think they will, if Mercedes do fall off dominant in the future, because again, it doesn't seem right to think that they're a team right now who's cemented for the next 40, 50 years, a bit like how kind of Williams were or Ferrari were. Ferrari will still dominate, of course. They've always kind of been pushing the mail letter. They've been good, but if they haven't been good, they've still been, they've been great, but if they haven't been great, they'll still be good. They'll always occupy second place or third place in the constructors, for example. So when Mercedes fall off dominance, there'll be two main teams to, of course, pick up the pieces there. Trying to get back there. They've always been kind of a team that's always done well in Formula One. If they haven't been winning, they've just been second and third place. I can't see I can't see Aston Martin, winning the World Championship at that point. Two just average drivers, no standout, of course. Max and Lewis and people like that have shown that, of course, it is the driver that, excels a little bit over the car. Or you need that driver just to kind of add the cherry on the top of the car. I can't see them win the World Championship, but I can see them doing really well. And that's just me saying what I want to see. The main reason that I want to see this is because when Haas came into Formula 1, for example, it's good, but it's Haas. They're not a Formula 1 pedigree team. And I guess you could say even Red Bull. Red Bull are a great team to support, but they're still not they're not a Formula 1 name like Ferrari or Mercedes are. So that's why I want Aston Martin to win, just because of the name in Formula 1 and the racing green. If we ever go back to Silverstone, Jordan, which, if we go this year, we won't see it, and we probably won't. But if we go to Silverstone again in the future and see that racing green car, I'll be a Red Bull fan still, and you'll be a McLaren fan still, but we'll look it down and we'll be like, that is incredible, that is an amazing car. And in the back of our minds, we'll want that car to win, at least one session, like FP1 or something like that, but we'll want that. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say the higher place is going to be second place. A few podiums for the drivers here and there. Maybe you can get, Sergio a win or two. But I'm going to say second place in the constructors for 2025, Jordan. So, 5 years down the line, apart from us being older and maybe crapper on YouTube, but we never know. You turn on the telly, 2025, and where are Aston Martin in the championship?
Well, we'll definitely be older, but none the wiser, to put it that way. Definitely not. And Sunderland will not be in the Premier League. Anyway, that said, moving on. I think this will be quite good. I'm going to say, I don't think Stroll or Perez will be there. I don't think both of them they won't be there by 25. No way. I want to say at least one of the kids now will be in that Aston Martin. I'm talking Verstappen, I'm talking Charles, Russell, Norris, perhaps. Albon, sign them on. Like you say, come in. Here's a little checkbook. So I think they'll have a really big driver in their team, taking a risk, perhaps. We might see Kimi Raikkonen at that team at 25. He'll still be around. Kimi Raikkonen and Max Verstappen at the team. Anyway, I don't think that they'll be champions by 25. I think Mercedes will still be there. I think Red Bull, again, I think Red Bull and Ferrari will be there. Mercedes will be there. McLaren, I hope, are there. I really do hope so. So I'm hoping that we're going to get a really nice competitive battle at the top where it could go either way. Like one year it's Mercedes, then it's Red Bull, then it's Ferrari, then it's back to Red Bull, then it's McLaren, then Aston Martin get a chance perhaps. But I don't think they'll be champions by 25. I think they'll be close. I do think that they'll be close by 25. I'm going to say at least third for their kind of like, maybe midfield to start off with and then pushing towards the front, trying to put money into the team and then boosh, there you go, constructors. I could be totally off for that. There might be constructors champions within the first year. Bit over the mark, but hey, bold prediction. So I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say, like I said before, both their drivers who are there now will not be there. Perez and Stroll, no way. And hopefully we'll have a good competitive Formula 1 again. I'm hoping that Aston Martin don't come in and just dominate the sport like what Red Bull have done, like what Mercedes have done. I do want to see a competitive sport again where it goes to the wire. Not every single year. I know we're not going to get that every year, but just we haven't had it in a long time, especially with like multiple teams. Like for the drivers and for the constructors, like we did see in 2010, like we're seeing in 2012. Something a bit different. Something 2 teams, 3 teams going at it, hammer and tongue towards the end, and then who knows what the future might hold for the teams. But as always, let us know your opinions in the comment section below, your bold opinions about Aston Martin. What do you think about the deal? How well do you think they'll do? And do you think Total Wolff will be off from Mercedes to Aston Martin to kind of start a brand new revelation for the Silverstone-based team, where they'll be based, of course, at Silverstone, replacing Racing Point. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Brings us to the end of the episode. Full weekend of content as well. Of course, Friday the Great came up this weekend as well. Of course, round 3, I'm doing it. Let's see if I can do any better than what I did in Australia. And tomorrow, no Vietnam Grand Prix. Sad face, but turn those frowns upside down, because we've got content coming for you guys. And of course, we've got episode number two of F1 Online Decoded. Is that the word? Yeah, of F1. I've got the name for a minute there. F1 Online Decoded, episode number 2 with the late breaking boys. Can't wait for that. That's so funny. Can't wait for you guys to listen to that. But anyways, guys, if you're only around here, please like and subscribe as well. And until next time, we'll see you later.
See you later, guys.